Hello, so in this video I'm going to go through creating a new project in Google Cloud and then creating a bucket and then loading some data into that bucket, some JSON data and some CSV data, and then I'm going to load that data into a dataset. So I'm going to create a data set and then I'm going to load those as tables, that data as tables into that data set. So the first thing to do is to go to Google Cloud console. And then, so there's already a table, a project here. So I'm just going to create a new one by clicking here. And instead of that one, I'm going to create a new one called test2. I can just call it big data test2. I'll just call it data ETL project test 2. Create. And then it says here that it's still sorting it out. Creating project, still going around, and then it says here that you can select the project because you're not actually in the project from here. So select the project. Select project. Then just click anywhere here to get rid of that drop down. Then you'll see here on the top left that I'm in the project now. And then now the next thing to do is to, inside this project, create a bucket. So I have to come here and then scroll down a little bit and get to cloud storage, browse, and you'll see that there's nothing there. So I have to create a bucket. So I can just create a bucket here. And then I have to give it a name. So I'm going to give it a name called, so I'll call it bucket2 here. And sometimes there's specific name formats, so don't include any, sometimes don't include any sensitive information, it says. Okay, sometimes there's also things like upper cases and lower cases as well. They have to be careful. So this format works for me. So I'm going to click here, continue, and multi-region. I will just keep it in multi-region. And the location, I will change it to Europe, because that's where I'm in. Then continue. Then choose a default storage. I'll just keep it to standard. Then continue. And all this access stuff, I'll just continue. And then I'll create at the end. That's it. And then this has created bucket 2 for me here. And now inside here, I have to copy over, just manually copy over the files, the data files, to inside the bucket before I can load them into a data set and as tables. So let's have a look at the data that I have. So in the JSON one, what I have is a JSON file here. If I just looked at that here, what you would see is just some of the flight data that is from the internet. And then just a very small number of rows in JSON format. And then also what I have here in my data is a CSV file. So the thing to notice here is that CSV files are very small and it doesn't have headers. So CSVs, when you load them and they don't have a header, then you have to have some sort of a schema. So if you go back to JSON, go back to a JSON file here, because it's in a JSON format, then it has a schema. Sort of, this is a column, this is another column, and this is another column, like that. So that's already embedded inside the data for JSON. But in CSV, we don't have a header, so we're going to have to use this sort of schema file that just tells you what the data types are and the header columns are. So that is something that we're going to come to later when we come to do the CSV file. But first, I'm just going to copy in this data into this bucket area that I just created. So the way I do that is I just come in here and I just drag it across. So that's the JSON file. There it goes. Then I will do the same with the CSV file. Let's just check that that's okay. It looks okay. And then drop this into here as well. Then you see the CSV file and the JSON file sitting there nicely. So now let me come back here and see what I have. So what I have to do now is go to Google Query and then start creating the dataset, because there's this notion of a dataset, and then inside that you have tables. So come down here, go down at the end. So Google Query is at the end somewhere. BigQuery. So quick BigQuery, click on BigQuery. Then you have to, on the left hand side, say you create a dataset. So inside the project that we just created here, it's a blank project here. What we have to do is just create. So there's nothing in here, so we have to open out this and then create a dataset here from the 3 dots. I'm going to call it datasets data underscore set underscore hon 2, and everything else just left as default, location, everything. Then you'll see it appear here. So then inside here you have to, there's nothing underneath it, so you have to come in here and then you have to click open. And then here, what we can do is we can create a table. So we create a table by clicking create table. And then instead of empty table, what we do is we choose from Google Cloud Storage. That's what we can do here. And then I can browse to my JSON file here. So inside here I can see the buckets that I have in this project. And then I'm going to choose the JSON one first. Let's do this. And then select. And then there's a few more things that I have to sort out here. Is that the dataset? Yes, data project. The name of the dataset that I'm in. Native table. JSON format. Check that. And I have to give it a table name. So what is the table name? I'll give it something like flights JSON. I want to say that it's JSON. Like that. I'll just call it flights JSON table. And then because it's JSON, I can auto detect the schema. So I'll leave everything else down here and then click create table. Now this should go away and load the job. And then it says it's gone and created the table. So that has created the table in JSON. So we can go into it and have a look. And you see that it's got this kind of a schema, got this kind of details, and this is the preview of the data that we have in here. Okay, so that's great. That's for JSON data. And now we're going to do the same kind of thing here, but load the CSV data. And when we do that, it's a little bit more interesting because we don't have headers. So what we do here is we come back into this place where we open this. So we're going back from here, going from flights back to there. So we can just close this actually, close this tab. And then here, what we can do, actually you can control it like this. You can see you can close all of these tabs. And then you can actually just open out this tab here by going open. And then you see, okay, now I'm in my project. And then now, if you open out this tab here, you see I'm in my dataset. Then inside my dataset here, I can open out that, and then that's my flights table. So you can navigate it that way. And then you can close this one. And then, because I don't want to be in that table, I just want to be in the datasets, where here I'm going to create another table. So inside my dataset here, now this one, oops, not here, inside this dataset, I'm going to create another table. So there's my dataset. Just click here, create table. And then this time I can also here get this from the Google Cloud Storage and then go and browse for it again. My Google Cloud Storage, and then go to CSV this time, and then click on this, then native table, and then give it a name. I'll call it flights CSV this time, but this time I won't auto detect. I'm going to uncheck that, make sure that's not checked. Then I'm going to edit the text. So inside here, I have to put this schema that's also in another file here. That is here. So inside here, this is just a file that is in a JSON format of the schema. So it has, so this is one header, and then this is another header. So this is all the headers that are going to form the schema. So I'm going to copy this. This will all be in the documents that come with this video. So I'm going to select all and Control C to copy, and then come in here and then just right click and paste in there. Then leave all of this stuff here and then click the table. Click create the table. Then it just creates the table. So if we come in here and have a look, what has it created? It's come into flight CSV at the top here. This is the schema. This is the detail tab. And if we come over here, there's a preview of the data. So that is how you create a project in GCP, and then from that you create a bucket, put some data in your bucket, load some basic CSVs and JSON files into your bucket, and then from the bucket you create a data set to begin with, and then you can load those CSV files as tables or JSON files as tables into your data set. So that's what I've done, and that's the end of this video. Thank you very much for watching.